Welcome to the GCW Plant Podcast, Episode 9. I am your host, Mystical Jericho, and with us again is John J. Wolf. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing really well, man. I'm happy to be here and I'm ready to roll.
Well, let's get right into the action as we are covering JCW's Great American Birthday Bash today. And just like how we're hopping right into it, JCW hopped right into the action to start off the event as the first match of the evening was Speedball Mike Bailey going one-on-one for the first time ever against Axton Ray. And in my opinion, I thought this could have been easily the main event, but the main event that they chose was a very good choice as well. And having this match open up the show and start the crowd off nice and hot, I thought was a very good way to start the night off. What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, I wanted to mention right off the bat here that this was a real treat because this was the first time meeting each other between these two. So right off the bat, I thought that was really fun. I didn't know what to expect. Let's see here. Speedball was heel, which I kind of found interesting. Easily, the booking could have been the other way because, Speedball's always loved. And Axton's still finding his ground, but generally he's played the heel with most of the matches he's had. But there was a lot of balloons out there, the red, white, and blue balloons. They had a lot of people wearing those party hats out there. So right off the bat, the fans were chanting to have the guys fight with the hats on. So I know that was kind of funny. But overall, Axton, surprisingly athletic, great moves. He hung with Speedball the entire time. Anything you kind of have to add on that one?
Well, like you're saying, Speedball it was pretty interesting. Speedball took the role as heel, as we talked about in the last episode with Axton Ray, as we don't really know if he's a heel or a face or any of that stuff, because he still is pretty brand new to the GCW/JCW crowd. And I thought for sure going into this match, Axton Ray would be the heel too, because it was just an easy kind of fit. Because from what I've kind of gathered from him during the few times we have seen him, like especially those scramble matches, he works as a heel for most of the match. He's a heel. The one time I think I seen him face was the last show that we had, this GCW settlement series, where he kind of was more of a face going up against Azrael. We got to see more of the likability of Axton Ray and him kind of relying on the crowd to help get him through the match and stuff. So I thought that was a very interesting choice, especially as I said, to start off the night we had this match, and right away we also get a little twists and turns of who's heel and who's face, who we're going to root for and who we're not going to. So I like how they kind of like blended it throughout the match too, where Axton still did a little heelish stuff, but ultimately it was Speedball kind of showing a different dimension. And I think it was kind of good of him showing like, hey, I'm not here to play around with this kid. I've seen what I've seen of you. I know that you could be a dangerous opponent for me. So I thought that was very awesome, seeing the change of roles and the fluidity that Speedball has as a heel and face, as well as Axton Ray. And as you said, we got to see the athleticism in this match. It was a very high-paced match. I loved it. That's why I'm a kind of a huge fan of Speedball. His work rate is go 24/7. And Axton Ray, when he's not trying to slow down the action and show his technical prowess, he's the same way, go. And this match was a very great clash of styles, or mesh of styles, not even a clash of styles, a mesh of styles, which what made me look forward to this match.
Yeah, so a couple things on Axton Ray just for fun, and I said right off the bat, surprisingly athletic. Him hanging with Speedball was, I think, a little more unexpected than I thought. I've noticed that with Axton over the course of time, with most of the matches that I have seen, he seems really adaptive. I love that. I love that he's able to jump in there with most whomever. He understands his role, and he can perform it fairly well. I know I also kind of went into length talking about him. I think maybe it was on the last show. But it's one of those things where, again, I'm just now getting him. I don't go too far into it, but I see Tony Deppen in him. I can see it. I can just see that he's intelligent enough to pull off that part and make people believe it. I also can see where he could be lovable too. He would make a great champion, both as a heel and also as a face. But overall, a lot of outside of the ring, but it was very quick. It was just one exciting spot. All of a sudden you'd see Speedball in the second or third row with the chairs. But, at the conclusion of this, Well, first of all, Speedball won this one. That was a real impressive win. We came in at 12 and a half minutes on this one. Once it was over, the fans were pounding the ring canvas. That says a lot. That's that show of respect that always happens. And then also, which was kind of nice here, was the fact that they brought the heel face thing together at the end by having Bailey and Axton, shake hands. And they kind of did a dude moment where they hugged. But I mean, overall, I gave you an earful here, but I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. That was just a beautiful match and a great opener, man.
Yes, going back to how you said you could kind of see Axton Ray a little bit with the Tony Deppen. I see him. Let's say if he wanted to be more heelish, he could do the Tony Deppen strategies of making sure his opponent doesn't get like their signature moves in, or find a different way to manipulate his opponent to disappoint the crowd, as in like not giving the crowd what they want. Because from what we've seen, he does some pretty crazy moves where it's kind of hard not to cheer him, no matter, even if he is the bad guy. It's like, oh, that was an awesome move we've never seen before. And people get up and clap. Where I think that's where I could kind of see if he does a little bit more face style of wrestling. I can see him. I compare him kind of like the Alex Zane, where we've seen Alex Zane do his Baja Blast, his Taco Driver, the inside out of the ring moonsault. I could see Axton Ray using his creativity like Alex Zane does to get the crowd behind him when he needs to play the face in a match and stuff like that. So I could kind of see Axton Ray, like how you said, both Tony Deppen and Alex Zane, which of course those two train together too. So it's kind of interesting. I put those two together. But,
really?
Yeah, Alex Zane used to, like, I believe his first GCW match was a backyard wrestling against Tony Deppen, and Tony Deppen was the one who suggested the match because he saw Alex Zane and did some trained with him and seen what he's able to do in the backyard. I believe they trained back before Tony was even wrestling as much as he is now. Like, he used to wrestle with Alex Zane in the background. I remember some commentary was made on that. So that's just how I view Axton Ray, as a mesh between Tony Deppen and Alex Zane. And as you said, Speedball picked up the win. He hits Axton with the Ultimate Weapon. And so it was just a very good way to start the show, I believe. And
yes,
like I said, that could have been, for me, the main event. I could have been called it a night there, but luckily that just started the night off, and we had a lot more action and more entertaining matches throughout the night.
Yeah, I actually wanted to mention that. I was going down to my notes here. One of the things that I said was this very well could have been the closer of the night. Absolutely. And I think you give them 5 more minutes just to give them that main event time, even just a little more, they would have torn the house. I mean, people were pounding the canvas on match 1. I couldn't imagine if this was the close of the night after the beer is sunk in and, everybody's ready to pop and get the hell out of there. And yeah, what a great first match.
Yes, and like how you said, they could have ended the show and everybody would have been just happy. And following your statement on wish it would have gone a little bit longer, now that you said it, yes, 12 minutes seems short, but maybe it was a nice little teaser for maybe more matches in the future, hopefully. But we will see, and we will keep on following along the greatness that Axton Ray has shown us in a short amount of time, as well as the greatness of Speedball, who ever since he's been back in the States in 2022 have just been on another level. A lot of people are saying he might be the independent wrestler of the year, if not the wrestler of the year in other forums. I've heard it, but to start off a JCW Great American Bash, this was a perfect way to do it between Speedball and Axton Ray. For the second match of the evening, we have a title match, as Alley Catch and Effie, Team Bussy, are defending the GCW tag titles up against Delirious and Edith Surreal. And I know we were kind of talking about it before, but I just like how, even though it's not a GCW show, it is a JCW show. It's kind of like the little sister promotion. But I love how Team Bussy is out there defending the belts all over the independent wrestling scene. I know they've defended it in at least 1 or 2 other promotions out there, but they're out there spreading the GCW tag scene. They're out there representing the tag team situation in GCW very well. So I like seeing Team Bussy out there defending the GCW tag titles out there and spreading the word of GCW. This was a nice, fun, interesting match. A lot of back and forth, playful style. But John, what did you think of this match?
Well, right off the gate, I thought it was nice to see both Delirious and Edith Surreal. Both of them I hadn't seen in a while. Delirious, I feel like it was a long time. It wasn't really long at all, but he's always, he's a unique performer. Uh, it was really, okay, no lie. I'm a big fan of the colors. He has this awesome green, and, I can't lie. So maybe that's the kid in me, but I love that green color.
Quick hint out there. Anybody that wants to get John as a fan, just wear the color green and he's got your support 24/7.
Hey man, just a high five. I'll give you a high five or nux, nothing big, a smile. But Veda was a little mad because Ali had come out when, it was time for Bussy to come out, and she had the hats on Madonna style, like she had the cones on the boob situation. So I thought it was funny that Veda actually said, "Hey, wait a minute. I thought we were only supposed to have one each." So, Ali comes out to the ring. She's bragging. She's only had one beer today.
That we know of.
Yeah, that she'd admit to. And so we'll stop there for a second because I want to tell you about the Team Bussy situation. I really do think in the beginning, I didn't think they were going to take the tag team role seriously. I really honestly thought that it was an in-between kind of role where eventually when SGC or someone else came along, like Los Macizos came along, and they were able to hold that belt for an extended period of time, I thought that maybe they were maybe just the in-between. So after I've seen quite a few matches, it's obvious that they're definitely serious about making sure that our GCW tag team title is worth the shit. And I really do appreciate that 100%. The other thing that's kind of funny, it goes along with being a kid with colors, but initially when Bussy came together, I was kind of sad that Effie's Elton John entrance was kind of gone. It kind of went away, and I was like, oh. But I also liked Ali's entrance from the get-go, and it kind of grew on me about 2-3 matches in. I finally started to like the little mix. Whoever made that, I thought it was cool that they spent the time to do that.
Yes, I'm a big fan too of tag teams coming out together. Yes. As well as, hey, even though we might not have been a team before, even though we know Team Bussy was, but like we've seen in other promotions and other tag teams where they just two random wrestlers they got nothing for, they just put it into a tag team and they're like, hey, this kind of works, and they kind of still do their own separate thing. I like seeing the tag teams coming out together. They come out color coordinated. They come out, even if you have to mix the two songs. I like that how you said when they start now mixing Ali Catches and Effie's music. I love that. I just love seeing the camaraderie. It makes it feel more like a tag team. And as you said, like we were kind of skeptical of how Effie and Ali Catch would be presented as tag team champions, and they came out and said, F that, we're still going to be Team Bussy. We're going to do all the SGC and Bussy's things that we do, but we're going to also show you that we're not just here to entertain you. We're here to kick some ass and defend these tag titles and represent GCW as well as anybody else that wrestles under the GCW flag. Like, hey, we're GCW. We're kind of like not GCW originals, but you can kind of regulars, as we've been calling them lately. We've been seeing them all over GCW, and to have them come out there and take their role as kind of ambassadors of the GCW tag team scene, as I was saying earlier, I love seeing that. And I like how you called that out too.
Yeah, those two are great choices as champions, and I couldn't think of anything more professional between those two than taking their role seriously. I mean, no shit. I couldn't think of another way to put it. I couldn't have more respect. I came out with very few. I came in with very few expectations, and then so far now we're looking at a satisfying run that maybe a year from now there may be a couple matches we'll call back to and say, hey, we need to go check that out. Remember when such and such was up against Bussy and then this happened or that happened. So I know it was just, I don't want it to overshadow the situation with Edith Surreal and Delirious. So I will say that with Delirious too, I just want to mention how damn entertaining he was, but also how kid-friendly I think his character can be. I really love the Tasmanian devil style, kind of, gibberish. I think kids love that. I love it, and I thought it was really cool that who was that did that? That was That was Delirious and who that got into a little match, a screaming match. Allie got into
yeah.
a little screaming match, a little back and forth gibberish and blah, 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 blah. And then eventually she smacked the shit out of him. I think it was a chop. And he just went, hell no, and tagged out. So I thought that was kind of cool too. But man, I ran this through with all my opinion. Would it be better just to have you just give the winner?
All right, so we could go right into the winner. And as you were doing that,
Yeah.
I forgot to. I had it earlier. I forgot to say it, but this. Pussy wins. Effie hits the spear, and then Alley catches Delirious in the Gotch pile driver, or not Gotch pile driver. The pile driver that Alley catches use, and they pin Delirious, and this ends up being their 7th defense of the GCW tag titles. And
oh, no kidding.
That goes for other promotions as well. I look back, they've defended that tag title in at least 3 other promotions other than GCW. So going back to like, hey, they're serious and representing GCW the right way and how they want GCW to be recognized as. Like you said, couldn't find any 2 better ambassadors to promote the GCW and the GCW tag division. So it was nice seeing Alley Catch and Effie picking up the win here and defending their tag team titles against Edith Surreal and Delirious. Match 3 of JCW's Great American Birthday Bash. We have Billy Starks going against the birthday boy himself, Nick Wayne. And if I recall correctly, this was a match that Nick Wayne also chose that he wanted to have for his birthday, going against his really good friend and also a up-and-comer like himself in Billy Starks. And this was a nice match for 2 young and up-and-comers. They know each other very well. It's a very fun match. What were your thoughts on the match, John?
I do think it was fun to just open the show with, their portion of the show, singing happy birthday to Nick. I thought that was really nice. And I think, again, that was the same song they used previous. I think we might have even said that
same
before.
One for Joey.
Okay, good. Yeah. I did like that there was 17 chops given out by Billy to Nick. There was 16 on the front, and then he had turned around at one point and she got him once real good on the back. Overall, though, a lot of this match for the first half was really dominated by Billy. That's one thing I can say for sure. There was a spot here where Billy actually hits Wayne with the assault driver on the ring apron. And what'd you think about at least that?
I heard Cornette screaming from all the way here in Las Vegas. What the hell are these kids doing? I know, Jim Cornette this gives him the little fuel that he somehow wants to have or has. But I remember this one spot specifically decided to get him out of his old man chair and onto his tablet or computer, whatever else he uses social media on, and went right to his little typing fingers and typed out online how much he hated this move because he doesn't like to see young kids do these kind of dangerous moves. I kind of go back to him not knowing who some of these younger wrestlers are, not knowing that Nick Wayne grew up in this business, not knowing Billy Starks has been around this business since she was very young, and that Nick Wayne is, I don't know the exact number. I'm going to assume at least has over 100 matches underneath his belt with all the training and stuff. I kind of get why he doesn't want to do it, is because they're kids. They don't need to be doing those spots. But if they're, as I believe these two to be, are very well trained, very careful with each other. I haven't really seen, to be honest with you, I'm thinking back right now of some botch moves of a big out of like, oh, that was really bad. They didn't quite hit that move as good as they wanted to, or they really messed it up. I feel like these two are absolutely safe enough, and they have proven it over and over in all their matches and all their work that they've done in their short careers, that they've earned the trust from obviously the JCW people to do this move. And I didn't see any problem with it, but I just thought, and I just wanted to quickly bring that up because I know Cornette made a big guff about it online, and I don't agree with it. I think Billy Starks and Nick Wayne are definitely professional enough to know what moves to use on each other and whatnot. And I don't think this should have been blown up as much as it was before. So I just wanted to downplay Corny's opinion on that, as if you want to say that right here on the podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll give this I'll give this will be fun to talk about because I'll give you maybe the other side of it to a degree. So I'll start here. Number one, they pulled off the move great. So I'll start right there. Right off the bat, they pulled it off great. It was nice and safe. Everybody ended up getting off of their butts and back in the ring in no time. So on the Cornette thing, here will be something that'll be kind of interesting. I see also, like you said, his point where there are kids and there is a chance of real injury. I'll dig into that for just a minute. I'm kind of curious what will happen in case some kid does get injured one day. I mean, is that something where do parents sign waivers for these kids to perform? There's also a possibility that a lot of these performers are already incorporated like businesses. So I am curious also, legally how that all goes down. None of my business. But I am curious as to what would happen, Lord forbid, a 16 or a 17-year-old may get injured, and how the state would respond. How the state commission may respond to that situation. So getting back a little bit to the Cornette situation. So we talked a little bit about the Rock and Roll Express and how they were one of the few, one of the first people I really started to watch, and they helped me fall in love with wrestling. So where I tie that in is the fact that I've seen Cornette since about 84, roughly. And I had to grow up with that slower wrestling. And I think quite a few of us around my age and older grew up definitely with a different style, a different thought process on how it should go. Back then, there still was the belief that it should look fairly real, that it, when somebody punches you in the face, it should be a believable reaction. And you should sit there for a while and shake that punch off. Whereas now you could take a kick to the face, you go down for a minute, your strong style back up and boom. And I appreciate all that. I don't think Cornette understands how that, I know he doesn't agree with it. I don't think he understands what it's done for fans. It's become a much more exciting show. And I really think as there's been a decline in fans overall in wrestling over the last couple decades, I think the adoption of this style has helped keep those who may have wavered, kept them in and made sure that those butts still go in the seats and the money still comes in the door. So what I think is, even though I feel that it's not the safest of move, and I understand why Cornette would say that, I do agree, given that I'm a parent who has a 17-year-old, you also are a parent too. And I mean, you're probably already weighing what could happen before you even send that kid off to go do what they would like to do. I know you have to do that. I know I'll eventually have to do that myself. So I just wanted to kind of go off on that small tangent for a minute. I sincerely apologize, but I do want to say that I do understand Cornette's side of it. I know it's not the most exciting or the most popular answer in this situation, but I wanted to let you know that I do see both sides of it, and I wanted to kind of hit on both sides because I thought it's a really interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, going back to like how you said with the waivers and stuff, like my son, he does train wrestling at a wrestling school out here in Vegas. They do make us sign waivers saying like, hey, you know what you're getting your child into, and you have to sign a waiver that kind of covers the companies, which is smart. And the problem I think with a lot of wrestling schools now is a lot of these wrestling schools, they just want to say they have a wrestling school, while some of these trainers are not quite the best. They don't have the best interests in mind when it comes to the children. I don't have that worry. We have our trainer out here is awesome, but I know they make them sign waivers. And
yes,
Cornette, as you said, it was back in the 80s and stuff where the work rate was not a big deal back then. I think they were trying to create these out of this world characters, bigger than life characters. It wasn't really about the work. It was more about how can you appeal to the fans and grab that fan's attention and grab that fan's money to make you invest in this company and you as a wrestler. Where nowadays I see the work rate has gone up, and I think that is good for the business while it also increases the danger of the business. I think it's good because if you look at everyone's on their phones right now, they got their attention span is super small, and with the high paced matches and the work rate that they're doing, I believe that's working right now for fans of this era and this generation of wrestling. While it's not necessarily, hey, you have to be the biggest worker. We've seen wrestlers all the time. They get super over with the crowd, not on work rate, but we also see a lot of the high work rate people. I kind of like the work rate. I like to see nonstop in-ring action. But I do also have a love to see the technical wrestling of a Jonathan Gresham or a Tony Deppen, and see how Minoru Suzuki coming out and doing like a very more slow paced match, more technical, more striking. Like, I'm all for that. And I just think Cornette, in my opinion, is a little bit behind on the times with the whole work rate and his opinion of wrestling. But he has earned his opinion. While we don't have to agree with it, we are allowed to disagree with it as well. And we're allowed to agree and disagree on certain opinions here. And like, I like hearing both ends of it, because a lot of people, especially now with social media, and we see a lot of days, especially right now in the wrestling world, where a lot of wrestlers are deleting Twitter because they don't want to hear the people not in the wrestling talk about it. But they're also tired of hearing people like Cornette, who hates everything about wrestling nowadays and wants it being back in the 1800s. Kind of, I see these wrestlers see Cornette as taking money out of their pocket by always talking bad about them and talking bad about this current generation's not really helping this generation as well as future generations of wrestling. I think us as podcasters, us as fans, Cornette as a former wrestler, as a podcaster, I think he's a fan of wrestling now, who knows, but I think like as wrestling evolves, the fans can either choose to evolve with it and like what's going on now, or they could choose to enjoy the historical wrestling that they had as they were a kid or in the past. And I believe that's a good thing now about wrestling nowadays is there's all sorts of types out there. If you like wrestling, there is a company out there for you, whether you like the high fly, the death match, the hardcore, the old school wrestling. So I just think it's us. We need to help wrestling evolve and get better for future wrestlers and be better fans for future fans, instead of always harping on the negative and stuff like that, as Cornette seems to kind of, as right now he's kind of in that phase of his life was, hey, I'm going to get that old too. I'm getting that old now where I can't leave the house anyway without losing my mind on people, or he's losing his mind of seeing what he helped build kind of, in his opinion, fall back, where a lot of people that are in the business now and thriving are saying, no, we're pushing this business forward and making it better. And I see the better of the future of the business rather than just sit and dwell on what I don't like and complain about it all the time. So that's just my little 2 cents on that. I know we kind of sidetracked from the Nick Wayne and Billy Wayne Starks match, or Nick Wayne and Billy Starks match, but I wanted to throw that out there with the Cornette thing, and I know it was a good discussion point for us supposed to have, as we both agree with it, and we have our sides where we kind of see the point as well.
Yeah, as a child, I was highly entertained by what created his foundation for what he has today. So I was able to see, you watch a Flair match in '84. If you put that on today, there's a good chance your son is on his phone in less than 3 to 5 minutes because nobody's flipping yet. Or, I will say, and this kind of bridges into something we may talk about down the road, but storytelling right now is kind of weak, and it's really weak in the independents. I think that's the nature of the beast because the performers move around so much. And I do believe also that, there's that chance of injury. And I'm really surprised we don't hear more about companies maybe butting heads, because the guy that they were about to set up a 4-month storyline with just got taken out because Mr. Say Such and Such decided he was going to get a big pop that night because he was running on adrenaline and wants to, get out there and make a name for himself. I feel fortunate as a fan that we have so much goodwill, at least that we see out there when it comes to getting talent pumped out to us and giving us those matches that it's so nice to turn on a show and I can see Billy Starks in a match she hasn't been in either a long time or she's never been in at all. I could turn it to WWE and I could watch pick any diva and you'll see her in a match with, let's just say, one of the 3 hot random divas at the time, hot storyline wise at the time, and that's just what you're going to see. So I really do like having all of this variety, and I really feel fortunate we're able to see all these young kids perform. I do think that at one point I'd like to sit down with a pen and paper, yeah, old school, and make a little note of how many regulars come through GCW that's under the age of 25. I would love to count those up, take a good portion of them. I'd like to take some of the veterans, cut it up, and I'd love to see what the roster would look like at GCW if that could be locked down. I know it's branching from one branch to another with this conversation, but I'm looking at the match between Billy Starks and Nick Wayne, and it is just so damn exciting. I mean, really, this we'll go more to the ending here, but Billy basically ended with the roll up. It was beautiful. The match was really made to push Billy, which was really interesting for it being a Nick Wayne match. This is the second surprise we had tonight, because for me, the first one was Speedball being a heel. And the second one was the fact that this was really to put over Billy. And I thought that was such a surprise. And at the same time, it was so Nick Wayne. Same thing. I've talked to him. Such a nice kid, real heart. I find it really interesting that they decided to put their heads together and say, you know what, Billy, we're going to do this and it's going to be yours.
Yes, I liked how Nick Wayne took the loss there. And even though it's his birthday, he took the loss, and Billy was the better competitor that night. And yeah, it was a fun match. Like I said, those two, even though we see their age, we see like they are young. I have never seen either one of those two perform a maneuver where I'm like, why are they doing that? They shouldn't be doing that, based off of age, where I think that's where kind of Cornette is kind of going back to the whole thing real fast. Is just like Cornette, like just picking a random age and saying, hey, these people shouldn't be doing it. It's like, I'm at my age where I did wrestling for a little bit, not a long time, but like I could do that move, and I'm this age, but I'm kind of brand new to wrestling. What would he say just about me because I'm haven't done it? It's like these people have wrestling in their blood literally since a child, and like they know what they're doing, they know how to perform. And these two, I don't ever think based off age of how if there should be safe or not. It's like their experience level regardless of age and past proof of what they've done in the ring. This match made me feel like, didn't make me go, oh my god, like I had to turn my head away and just in case of an injury happens. I just think these two at such a young age are so talented where they are able to I think now even start to expand, as we kind of saw with this move with Billy, expand their moveset and grow as a performer. And this was a very good stage for Billy Starks to show her growth as a performer, same as Nick Wayne to show his growth as helping people getting over off of him. And I thought it was just kind of cool, like, yeah, it's your birthday, but you still took the L. So that I liked it. It was a very fun overall match. I know, like I said, we got sidetracked on a sidebar, but this was a fun match. It was a very good way to transition into the rest of the night as Billy Starks kind of picked up the surprise win over Nick Wayne.
So let me just one last one, because I know we were going to end that segment, but I want to say something that I don't know if I've ever thought of before, but as I was watching this Nick Wayne loss, it kind of just kind of came to my head. I have watched, I don't know how many Nick Wayne wins or losses, but he's one of the few performers that whether he wins or loses, I could give a damn less. It's so interesting. There aren't many performers like that, but I can tell you, unless there's a championship in his hand, I could give a shit if he wins or loses. All I give a shit about is that he's there and he's performing. I just wanted to say that because I don't know how many of other have thought that way, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing to bring up for a second.
I'm right there with you, with him, especially at such a young age, where I believe he should not be caring about these wins or losses as of right now. As of course, you want to always win and always go out and give it your best. But I watch Nick Wayne and Billy Starks and all these other Starboy Charlies, these young competitors. I'll go back to Jordan Oliver, like see them grow from match to match and see the improvements that they had. Like I know Nick Wayne he's got a bigger future in mind as is signed by AEW, where I think that's where he can start worrying about wins and losses. But as of right now, I think he should be fighting any and every competitor he can just to get show off his versatility and help him become more versatile in the technical areas, or more storytelling, or hey, how can I get me as more over than anyone else? Like maybe him start getting a little bit more selfish and focusing on how he can improve his own brand. And
Mm-hmm.
I just like seeing, like you said, there's certain wrestlers where like, yeah, I want them to win or I want them to lose, but then there's others like, I don't care if they win or lose because I know I'm going to get a great match and I want to see how much they improved from last week. Even you get to see the improvements and stuff like that. So this was a fun way to see both wrestlers improve and also showcase their talents in the JCW match here. For the fourth match of the evening, we have a three-way match of Masha Slamovich going against Janai Kai and Lindsay Snow. And I thought this was a good three-way women's match. Nice way to showcase their growing and evolving women's division in JCW/GCW, as we've kind of seen the fluidity of some of the JCW wrestlers going up to GCW and vice versa. So I thought this was a nice three-way match. Kind of had a little lead up earlier in the day, as we covered in the GCW Sediment series, when Masha came out as Akira's lawyer in Akira's match versus Janai Kai, and kind of cost Janai Kai the victory against her boyfriend. So I thought that was a kind of cool way earlier in the day, even though it was on a different show, they were probably going to get the same crowd to watch both shows. I thought it was a nice way to kind of set up this eventual three-way match that happened. What were your thoughts on the match versus Masha, Janai, and Lindsay?
First, I can say that I really appreciate when there's just even a little storyline that if you're just watching the show before, you can appreciate why what's going on now is even happening. I really did like that in this three-way match, it seemed like all three women were going at it the entire time. This wasn't a three-way where one guy goes outside of the ring, he's catching his breath and making sure that he walks off that knee injury while the other two do the work. And then one guy flies out and then here comes the other guy. This was a lot more just a three-way dance. And I mean, it really was, because you almost have to dance. You're looking at one person, next thing you know, you're looking at the other. So there was not a lot of high flying in this one whatsoever. It was a lot of kicks, a lot of punches. I mean, for a women's match, it would be the quote unquote slobber knocker kind of thing. All three women showed that they were tough as nails. Each woman, I think, had an equal amount of time of dominance on this. And it was just a quick and hard hitting 7.5 minute match.
Yes, and as you were saying, hard hitting, like you got three great strikers, and that's what this kind of match, I was kind of expecting it to be kind of like a three-way women's MMA match, like with the way they were going to all stand-up battles, because all three are known as strikers, and yes, they do have some grapples, especially Janai Kai being a black belt. Masha Slamovich has shown that she has a lot of good ground game as well. I haven't seen too much of Lindy Stowe's ground game, but I've seen her toughness for sure and striking in other promotions. So it's kind of nice seeing a little different version of her as well during this three-way match. But I thought it was a perfect little three-way to set up what possibly could be future matches down the line in the women's division, as this was a good showcase for all three. I love Masha just out there just going out there just to cause havoc. Janai Kai is going to go out there and show her dominance. Doesn't matter who you are or what kind of wrestling you do. And Lindsay Snow was kind of like the wild card. You didn't know what she's going to do during this match, but I thought it was a great three-way, nice short match, but each got their stuff in very stiffly. Got their stuff in, which is awesome seeing too, like showing how tough they really are. And Masha ends up with getting the victory as she hit Janai Kai with the White Knight driver. So nice little way to wrap up that story that they had throughout the day, with Masha costing Janai earlier and now picking up the victory over Janai Kai as well. For the fifth match of the evening, we have a legend in action as Mr. 187 himself, Homicide, goes one-on-one with the up-and-coming Alec Price. And this was one of those other matches I was looking forward to. I am a huge Homicide fan. I've been a fan of his since the early Ring of Honor days, the Impact Wrestling. Anywhere I see Homicide show up, I will go out of my way to watch it. And slowly and surely, Alec Price is becoming one of those wrestlers for me. So I thought this was a good way to show off the legendary Homicide while also raising Alec Price's awareness to GCW, JCW, independent wrestling fans all over the world. It was a good way to show off Homicide in his current state, as well as demonstrate the possibilities they have with Alec Price. So I love seeing those two in action. I was looking forward to this match. John, what were your thoughts on this match?
I liked right before the match even started, you have Alec Price coming out of that curtain there. He starts playing heel right off the bat. He's going around talking trash to the crowd, getting in people's faces, yelling. They're yelling at him. It was really fun. It got the crowd really into it. The crowd was passionate for quite a while. They were cheering a lot more than earlier on in the show. It really picked up from this point forward. Everybody was having a blast. The first half of the match was primarily Homicide, just kicking the shit out of Price. And I think that's what really made the fans go crazy, was the fact that they were watching a heel that nobody likes, just getting the crap kicked out of him by a veteran that everybody loves. Regardless who he is, fans were still giving Alec an equal amount of cheers. That was really surprising. It seems like Alec is growing on not just you, not just me, but it seems like he's really growing on the GCW fan base. I really hope that this is going to continue. I think that he's got a couple years before he still grows into his body, but I see that he already has the mind for knowing how to piss someone off. And it seems like he's decent with reading the crowd. Same thing, like I said, I wanted to see him grow into his body. He still has that longer, leaner look that you would have out of a younger kid. But overall, I think this was a match that really did a lot for Alec's value overall. That was awesome chance that came up. So, I mean, I think that's primarily what I wanted to mention, was the fact that this was a lot of Homicide putting the offense on, but this was quietly a lot about Alec.
Yes, I thought this was a good way to get more heat on Alec, as obviously, as you said, he comes out right away just demanding the heat and getting the heat from the fans. But he is so talented in the ring where it kind of hurts his heel persona, where the fans want to cheer for him because he's doing awesome creative stuff and getting his shit over with all of us. And even though he's a heel, he's still showing like, hey, I could do the stuff as a face too if I needed you guys. But I thought this was a perfect opponent for him to also escalate his heelish ways. And he did that near the end of the match as he started getting a little bit more desperate and vocal towards the crowd, towards the ref, towards Homicide. As Homicide, as you said, being the legend that he is, of course, is just easy to cheer for him going against the asshole that everyone hates at the current match in Alex. So I thought this was a cool match all around. The setup, the build to it, of like just even just on name value alone, of legendary figure that everyone loves going against up and comer that's cocky, brash, and everyone hates. I thought it was kind of a good setup for that way. There's like two spots in this match that kind of really stick out to me. The first is Alec Homicide ends up body slamming Alec, and if you watch previous Alec Price matches, he comes out just chomping on that gun left and right, and like as he's body slamming him, the gum goes flying out, and like Homicide slams him, notice the gum on the ground, and showing the GCW crowd and the JCW crowd that he's one sick fuck. He ends up grabbing the gum and putting it in his mouth, and then he got like a you sick fuck shit. So I like that kind of badass from Homicide. And another spot in this match when they were early on the outside of the ring, Alex was kind of bent over trying to catch his breath, and Homicide ends up taking a chair from a fan and slides it like pretty much the whole length of the apron, like one side of the ring, and slides it perfectly into Alec Price's nuts, and Alec Price just has to sit there and take it, and it hits him perfectly. Those were my highlights of the match. As you said, this was an awesome match. They got the that is awesome chance, and Homicide does pick up the victory, ends up hitting Alec with the cop killer and beats him in about 17 minutes. This was a good match, a lot of time to let him breathe. It wasn't too high spotty of a match. I kind of like how maybe Alec would prefer it. But Homicide, being the veteran that he is, ends up getting his shit in as well, while also controlling the pace of the match. So I thought this 17 minutes was a good, perfect spot on the card for a nice 17 minutes match between a legend and a hateable heel. So overall, I thought this was a great match. For the sixth match of the evening, we have the Bunkhouse Stampede. And this match We have quite a few wrestlers in it. I'm going to go over everyone that was involved in this match, except one, as they were a surprise entrant near the end of the match. And then we will talk about the fun stuff we saw during the match. And then I will, at the end, quickly go over all the eliminations, Excalibur style, so that way you know who eliminated who, as it could possibly set up future JCW storylines and matches. So I would like to get that information out there for everyone, just in case they're interested in that for future reference. So the Bunkhouse Stampede match. We have the one called Manders, Akira, Austin Luke, Bam Sullivan, Big Vin, Brandon Kirk, not Catal, Charles Mason, Charlie Tiger, Dylan McKay, Alice Taylor, Grim Reaper, Jeff Cannonball, Josh Bishop, Casey Catal, Marcus Mathers, Too Hot Steve Scott, and as I said, we have one mystery opponent that comes out near the end of this match. And I will kind of save it for the surprise and kind of go over why it was a surprise and all that stuff during the match. But this was a interesting bunkhouse stampede and typical GCW / JCW style. And these Rumble matches that they have, there's not really a set standard of rules. They decide to kind of just wing it as themselves. They kind of have a basic outline of how they expect the match to go. But structurally, there's not really someone comes out every 30 seconds, not just one person comes out at a time. And in this match, we see a lot of it. So, John, what were your thoughts on this match?
Well, I thought it was kind of fun from the beginning that Emil came out with this, I guess it was either glass or a clear cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And whoever won the match of this bunkhouse stampede was going to win the cowboy hat. The first thing off the bat was that the match started with Reefer and Young, Dumb, and Broke. They just decided it was time to smoke weed together. So they did exactly that until the next entrant came in. I'm not going to go particularly over one by one so that it's not so, by the book and bullet point. But primarily, Charles Mason came out. He was unannounced. He wasn't even supposed to be in yet. He attacked Yo-Yo on his entrance. I really enjoyed Mathers versus Mason. I really do think in the long run that that's going to be a great little match between those two. From what I saw in that match from the Stampede there, I really see shades of those two working together in time if someone will book them to. I'm really becoming a Mason fan. I love his gimmick. I love the facial expressions. I think that he is in training to be one hell of a great heel. I think he's already on his way. I believe that for his age, he's got a great grasp of what he needs to do to get that done. But otherwise, I did notice that mid-match, the wrestlers did start entering in faster intervals. So I did notice there wasn't a set time. I tried to pay attention to that. And every time a Royal Rumble comes on, I try to count it out. There's always a little 5 seconds here, 10 seconds there, But I did notice that they did come in faster intervals. Anything else that you can think of? Because I know you're going to kind of eventually lead up to that surprise entrant there.
Well, I know we were talking about on the GCW Cinema series, our last episode, near the end, when Charles Mason went one-on-one against Yo-Yo. I made a reference of how I thought at the end of that match that he put Yo-Yo in the trash bag during then. Well, I was wrong. It ended up being later that night when Yo-Yo made his entrance, as you said. Charles Mason attacked him and ended up putting Yo-Yo in a full-on trash bag all the way in, dragged him back to the back through the entrance curtain, and we thought that was the last of Yo-Yo throughout this match. Unless you pay attention during the actual Stampede match, if you look in the direct back area where it kind of looks like the entranceway for the fans, you could kind of see a Yo-Yo who was just dragged out in a trash bag, standing there kind of chilling with everyone else. So maybe he was like trying to use that as everyone, trying to hide behind everyone. So that way he could sneak in later in the match, as we will get into. But it was just kind of funny seeing, like, wait a minute, 5 minutes ago, you were dragged in the back in a body bag, which it looked like. And then now you're in the back. Like, that was a little interesting to see. But that was one thing that stuck out during the match to me. Alice Taylor ends up hitting Dylan McKay with one of those cool Adam Cole super kicks. Like Dylan McKay was doing a moonsault from the second rope, like just in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the ropes, I should say. Was trying to surprise and hit a moonsault onto Alice Taylor, but Alice Taylor saw it and end up super kicking him right in the face, which was a cool spot that I've seen before, and I like seeing that one. And they performed that one just as good as the first time I saw it, so that got me popped a little bit. Then we had go ahead.
I was going to say there was a spot with Josh Bishop. He put both of the Young, Dumb, and Broke crew through that door together.
Yes.
And I was going to just say, because I know you were kind of looking there, Bishop had one hell of a strong showing until Big Vin hit.
Yes.
But Bishop's another one, man. I think he's really going somewhere. It's just a matter of when.
I obviously, based off his look and his even ring gear and his entrance and demeanor and everything, I think it's a common place to go to with him. But as in past wrestlers, I think he is Sid. He is a reincarnation of Sid, where he might not be the most technical and come across clean in the ring, but he's so damn strong. He's so damn unpredictable. And you just don't know what you're going to get from him. And you know, for one thing, you're going to get violence and you're going to get a lot of strength involved. And I thought that was a pretty cool spot of him throwing both members of Young, Dumb, and Broke through that door. He did have a little impressive outing here, eliminating quite a few wrestlers throughout this match. But right away, he came through that curtain. I was like, oh my God, it's Sid. Like, I've seen little bits of Josh Bishop here and there, but that was one of those moments that made me think of Sid when he came out. Another fun spot during this match, I like when Akira came out. He brought his little traveling bag, which looked like he had his probably ring gear or other street clothes for the airport, but he also had hidden in the luggage, which he attacked everyone with in the ring, a pair of flip-flops, and on the bottom of the flip-flops were the thumbtacks. And I loved how he was running around the ring trying to get hit everybody with the thumbtacks. He even had a little funny spot as Bishop kind of went in the ring. Akira was outside. Bishop came out to the same side of the ring that Akira was on. Akira looked at him and was like, no, I'm good, I don't want to mess with you right now, and kind of walked to the opposite side of the ring. And then later on, he was going to sneak attack Josh Bishop as he was outside trying to grab the door. Akira was hiding behind the ring post, like with the flip-flops ready to attack him. I just thought Akira kind of brought a little comedy side to him. As we said, we kind of see more of the versatility of not just the death match with Akira. We see him technical. He wants to show off his technical abilities in his match against Janai Kai earlier that day. We saw the striking, but this was nice to kind of see Akira in like a little comedic spot with the thumbtacks and with the hiding from just Josh Bishop. I'll kind of go through some of the eliminations now, unless you got some others. You got another spot you saw during that match you really liked, or no?
Let's see here. Honestly, you covered so much. I will just say that you know what? You know, you're going to cover that in the. Go ahead and go through it, man. That was the long answer of no.
Well, as you said, like another one too is like it was awesome kind of seeing Big Vin come out as Josh Bishop just destroyed the entire ring. Like, all right, who's going to stop this monster? Boom, Big Vin comes out. So it was nice to he got a nice little pop from the crowd as kind of the savior for everyone else to kind of get rid of Josh Bishop. But let me kind of go down the eliminations right now. So we had Charles Mason eliminated Grim Reaper. Ellis Taylor eliminated Dylan McKay. Josh Bishop eliminates Charlie Tiger, Ellis Taylor, Austin Luke, and Marcus Mathers, all in concession. Big Vin, then that's when Big Vin came out and end up cleaning house and gets Josh Bishop out and eliminates Josh Bishop. Casey Catal eliminated Big Vin with the help of obviously Brandon Kirk. Casey Catal then also eliminated Akira. Bam Sullivan eliminated Too Hot Steve Scott, which that reminds me too. I liked when Steve Scott came out and the feed from Fight TV end up going through his phone as he was using the selfie stick. I seen that in other companies and I haven't seen that often. So I loved seeing that play into Steve Scott's character. Then we had Charles Mason eliminated Bam Sullivan. Brandon Kirk and Casey Catal each worked together as well to eliminate Jeff Cannonball. The one called Manders eliminated Brandon Kirk. And then this is where I believe our special entrance comes in play. And the special entrance of the Bunkhouse Stampede match was none other than the legend himself, Matt Tremont. And that kind of popped the crowd, as kind of like no one came out for the longest time. So everyone kind of thought, hey, we're done getting entries in. But let alone, Tremont's music plays. You see the place all stand up and like holding their heads. It's surprised to see a legend, another legend in the JCW event. So it was very cool seeing the crowd give Tremont the love and respect that he kind of deserves, obviously being part of everything that's been going on with these companies, but as a surprise entrant to kind of help clean house and possibly win the Bunkhouse Stampede. So once he comes out, we then have, he did come out and eliminate Casey Catal, and then Charles Mason, being the little sneaky sadistic person that he is, he eliminates Matt Tremont, and then he eliminates the one called Manders, and we think that is the end of the match, as he's on the outside celebrating, still on the apron, did not fully go over the top rope and both feet touch the ground yet, as that was one of the ways to win during this match, as well as they could have won by pinfall or submission as well. And out from back where we saw him from, Yo-Ya returns to the ring, as he was not officially in the match yet, was not officially eliminated. He comes out from behind, sneak attacks Charles Mason, and he ends up becoming the Bunkhouse Stampede winner at JCW's Great American Birthday Bash. And I know we've been kind of giving Yo-Ya some love and also some gruff based off his name with some of the jokes we've been throwing out there as well, some of the commentaries. But I know you've been making a big saying like it'd be awesome to see Yo-Ya get a little push here. And what were your thoughts on him winning this Bunkhouse Stampede and kind of maybe starting to push, or at least got the rub that night at least?
Yeah. So since we were trying to watch these, review them, and then put the shows on, this was around the time where I was really starting to notice that Yo-Ya was getting more of a push than I'd realized. You know, I'm watching back 3-4 shows before this one. It's just Yo-Ya, Yo-Ya, Yo. Even when he loses, Yo-Ya, Yo-Ya, Yo-Ya. So I thought that was really cool to see him come out again. And this wasn't just a 5-man situation. This was many, many more. So again, it made him look really good. I was really happy that we get so many people together to just make us happy, entertain us. And then I want to talk about Matt Tremont for a minute. I didn't even talk to you about this, but I want to kind of make it a little bit of an appreciation point. I sent a message on Twitter quite a while, just as an appreciation kind of a tweet. And I mentioned how I notice how much he likes to get the crowd into it. He really does like that interaction. I noticed that he likes feel-good moments. You know, I've noticed that he really wants people involved a lot. He has this thing for drama. He understands how that works. He works well with the crowd. Not a lot. I don't know how many people maybe mention this. Maybe it's just a professionalism thing between the people back behind but for a tough exterior that he has, he really does have a really caring, an inside there that really wants to put on a show. So, I mean, I've seen that same thing with Andre the Giant, where he really wants to come out there and be, this huge hulking, tough guy. But I also have a picture that I'll show when I get a chance down the road of Andre the Giant, where he's bowing almost like he was on a stage in Broadway. I mean, just a beautiful picture of a man who really worked his ass off, and you forget the performance aspect of it. And Tremont, no matter how much he bleeds, he's still going to make sure that even if you're horrified, you're still going to be involved some way, one way or another. And he really puts to use a lot of things that other wrestlers may, they might just hit somebody with something. But with Tremont, you're going to at least see that it hurts him. A lot of guys just take the shot, hurt for 3 seconds, look at the camera, and they're done. Whereas Tremont, he knows how to kind of drag it out a little bit. And then same thing, he's just a damn good wrestler. He still knows he knows how to wrestle. So on top of that, he has H2O that he's working with. And I just want to say, even on a GCW show, quite a few H2O guys are I mean, quite a few H2O people. You'll see vice versa with GCW and back and forth. And you can every now and then catch a GCW person over there. But that is one hell of a little school over there. And they're putting on a really good show.
Yeah, and like a lot of the people that you see on H2O were in this match throughout this whole card. They were out there representing H2O, and as you were saying, Tremont has that way to connect with the fans. I know he just came back from the retirement, and that's when he's on his little run that he's on right now. But overall, lately, since he's been back, you see the love that he has for wrestling. He realized he wasn't done giving back to the business. That's how I'm looking at this. Is his not farewell tour, but this is his giving back tour, as he's making himself available to all these names we might consider lower names, where maybe why is he wrestling there, but he sees something in those people, as like Cole Radrick being one of them. I just know that he is in the business of connecting with the fans, connecting with the wrestlers, and he's earned that respect, where that's why that crowd popped so loud, because they're like, you didn't expect Matt Tremont being at a JCW show. Like, I'm not trying to downplay JCW. Like, this was the highlight for me of the card of the weekend was JCW, but as we've seen more normally, they're kind of thrown in on these GCW Atlantic City like the events throughout the day. Like, the main events are the GCW shows, but if you go earlier throughout the day and you catch the JCW show, you're going to see a lot of good talent and a lot of great wrestling before you even get to the GCW card. And Matt Tremont coming out here and knowing how much the fans love the GCW, JCW brands, then him being a part of it and him showing up and showing like, hey, JCW is for real. Don't sleep on it. Don't consider us the sister promotion. Like, we could do our own stuff too. And I thought him coming out kind of added more credibility to not just this match, but to this card. And it shows like, hey, JCW is, we're good on our own. We don't have to be held together or recognized with GCW. We could be recognized outside of GCW as well. And that was just like a fun match of, I say I love callbacks. It called back to earlier, as I slipped up on the last podcast thinking that Mason already threw Yo-Yo into the trash bag, where no, it happened later that night. And I could see a lot of storylines for JCW coming through this match, as we saw with the Catals and the Kirks, Mason, Bishop. I just think they have a lot of, seeing as much talent and just in this match alone shows like, hey, JCW has something going, and this might be able to respark a lot of new feuds and a lot of new storylines going on in their product as well.
Yeah, I really like how H2O is really working alongside GCW and JCW quite a bit most recently, especially with Sharing Mathers. Yes. I know he's one of the ones that's over there quite a bit, and we've been seeing a lot of Marcus Mathers, and I know I think I tooted his horn about how good he was maybe a show or two ago, but seeing the H2O group come over there and try to put down a little bit of themselves, then you've got the big boy Tremont coming in, you know what I mean? It's like watching the Bear come in and kick the shit out of whoever wants to mess with the Cubs.
Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking too. It's like, all right, you're done messing around with my Marcus Mathers, our Austin Lukes or whatever. Like, all right, come deal with the big guy now, Charles Mason. Like, stop messing with my quote unquote little ones. Come after the big dog here. And I thought that was a very cool way to tie all that along, as well as give Mason the super heat that he already has. It gives him even more heat when he eliminates the people that he did during this match. And then he got his comeuppance though when Yo-Yo sneaks in and eliminated him. So overall, I thought it was a fun match. Had a lot of different personalities, a lot of different styles, and being the Bunkhouse Stampede match, we didn't know what to expect, and I think overall it delivered what I thought it would have turned out to be. In the co-main event of JCW's Great American Birthday Bash, we have Hermanos Lee, consisting of Dragon Lee and Dralistico, going against the Space Gods and ASF and Gringo Loco. And for me, anytime I get to see ASF and Gringo Loco in a match, whether it be against each other or as a team, I'm always excited to see what Gringo does with ASF to do some crazy spot, because they always, as a team, they work great together as opponents. They work great together. Seems like every single time I see them, they do something crazy that I've never seen before. I have seen Dragon Lee in the past. I have seen him team up with his brother Roosh in the past. So I know like Dragon Lee's more the high style and stiff luchador style, other than just like high flying, run around the ring. He brings a very stiff aspect to his striking and his abilities, while also bringing out the luchador and high flying. Dralistico, I have not seen too much of him other than a couple AAA matches here and there, but haven't really followed him around. So I was interested to kind of see how he would fit into this dynamic of, like I said, I know what the other three are going to bring to the table, not so much with him, but overall, I thought this was a very fun match. Anytime I get to see Gringo Loco in a lucha match with other luchadors, I just know they're going to try to steal the show. And this one was a pretty good match. They had a lot of money tossed in the ring afterwards, so in the fans' eyes, it might have stolen the show. But I thought this was a well-paced luchador match. What were your thoughts on it, John?
Okay, this isn't going to be the first time I've mentioned it tonight, so I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a joke about it to a degree. But Dragon Lee had an awesome outfit, great blue color. I don't know why, but there was just I don't know if it's certain colors or whatnot. And again, it sounds kind of, I'm not the tough GCW. No, what it is I understand the use of color, and I understand the use of these outfits and how they really do bring accent to the person and who they are and what they're trying to get across. So I don't know why, but this was just one of those things where one of my impressions was, holy shit, he looks great. That outfit really looks great. And then he backs it up with one hell of a performance in the ring. I'm with you also, Mystical, here, that I've not really seen much of Dralistico. If I had, I don't remember it. Honestly, I don't mean anything of it. I don't want to take any way, I don't want to take anything away whatsoever, especially after watching this match. But I did like the fact that both guys here started off with a rock, paper, scissors to see who was going to wrestle first. That was, just one of those classic little entertaining things.
And that might have been the longest time I've ever seen tag team like play rock, paper, scissors before. Like they tied at least 3 times, which was pretty funny. They're like, all right, are we going to end this or what? Like that was a funny little spot scene, like as you said.
Yeah, they were probably just arguing on where they were going to eat later after the show. I mean, it was a solid match overall. Great lucha match. Fast pace as expected. It was a good quality match as expected. It's one of those ones where it's expected to be faster than the average match. It's supposed to be higher flying than the average match. There's supposed to be more action than the average match. This did all of that. Absolutely. This was exactly what they meant it to be. You had 4 people in there who knew exactly what they were doing. Dralistico had a great top rope Hurricane Rana all the way to the floor on Gringo Loco. If you have a chance, go back and check that out. There was a great killer Gringo bomb on Dralistico that if you have a chance, check that out. Same thing. I wanted to mention too, I love it. Please, if you have the chance, do it because these guys are coming out of the way to come to you. Please throw money. I know it sounds like a lot. If you don't have it, my goodness, please don't. But if you have a couple bucks and you really want these guys to see that you appreciate for them truly, then I think it's a great thing to do. Quite a few of the performers I go and see at the GCW show, I try to go out of my way to let them know, hey, the money I spent here, I want you to know a chunk of that really was to see you. Like part of the reason why I put my butt into the seat was because of you. So I really do think it's cool when you do that. Also, it's tradition. I'm not getting money. I'm not one of those people. I have seen this tradition go on. I understand why it's a tradition. I appreciate it. And I think it's a show of respect. $1 isn't much these days, but for some people it is. That's why I said, my goodness, if you don't have it, man, please don't. You can show respect by thanking the individual after the show. If you see them somewhere, just come up and say thank you. I think that really does mean a lot, and all of them do really appreciate it.
Yeah, some of the
overall, though.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead, man. I just was going to say overall, it was a good match. That really was what there was not much left, man. What were you going to say, my friend?
So going back to how you say they throw the money in, and maybe you know the answer to this, maybe you don't, but it's always something I've kind of wondered. But here's my thought process on it whenever I do see it is at the end, like, yeah, you see the lucha matches mostly is when they throw the money into the ring. But what I tend to notice is every time I see that happen, I've noticed like the winner of the match kind of is like, okay, I win the match, but let's leave all the money for my opponents who lost, which I think is a kind of cool like give and take with wrestlers behind the scenes, and maybe they split it up behind the scenes. I don't know. That was kind of my question of like, how do you know how they does it usually get split up, or does it normally, if the winner wins, they usually leave the money for the loser as a show of respect of, hey, I got the victory, but you did an awesome job. You could get the money while I enjoy the victory. Do you happen to know the answer to that, or am I just going crazy?
Okay, you're not going crazy because I'd be crazy with you. So my answer is no, I don't know, but I will say some things that I think make sense for that. Number one, I think that it's always a big deal when the person gets the win. So maybe they walk off while the other people are there. So that show of respect also goes to them and gives them a certain amount of glory. It also gives them the opportunity to say thank you and give the last bow before that stage is shut down for the next one. I would think it would make sense, as it is a team effort, to share the money equally. I'm sure that there may be some cases where there may be some special, maybe someone thinks they deserve more because they've worked their butt off. I'm sure there are always special cases like there are in anything, but I'm sure in a respectful group, there's always going to be a, hey man, we got $20. Let's split it 5 ways, or let's go take that 20 and get ourselves some beer for the night. I think something like that. I don't have a real answer, but I have a pretty good speculation.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something I saw like the last couple times I've seen money thrown in the ring for lucha matches, not just GCW shows, but like other times, like where I've kind of noticed the winner. Well, hey, I got the win. Let me say bye the crowd, but let's let my opponent get the money as well as get the last little appreciation from the crowd. And then also I noticed on this one too, the referee was like pocketing all the money. So I was like, I've seen it back in the past. I know like, hey, maybe the wrestlers, if they're cool enough, these referees, and we've talked about a little bit, but not as much as I've seen kind of like online, like where the referees are such an integral part of the match where it actually, a lot of people like, it doesn't matter who you have a referee, and I think that's bullshit. We have seen awesome referees and they make all the difference in the world in matches where they won't block a screen, they won't block like they're in the right position at the right time doing what they needed to be doing, and they are not, I could guarantee, I could probably promise you that the referees are not getting paid nowhere near what they are close to as their wrestling counterparts, which I understand. I agree, as the wrestlers are in there giving up their bodies and at way more risk. But in the grand scheme of things, I believe these referees need to be out there more and be appreciated more by the fans, by promotions, and not just here, you've been with us, you call this main events. Like financially, like start supporting some of these referees, because I thought that was, in this match, I was like, why is this referee pocketing it? And then I think I saw later on where Dragon Lee kind of like shooed him, like, hey, grab some of that money. Where I was thinking back in my head, like, okay, instead of the losers giving them money, maybe all 4 competitors are like, hey, this referee's cool, they deserve it, let's give them the extra money. Or if they add them to the splits on how they do it afterwards. It was just a little thing that came to my mind where I kind of wanted to bring up more love for referees, and it was kind of funny though, see the referee pocket it. It was like, hey, they're going to check his pockets afterwards. I worked at a casino before. It was like, hey, I could never go from touching money to not waving my hands up in the air and cleaning them and washing them 5 times to show the cameras I'm not taking any money before my hands went back into my pocket. So it was pretty funny seeing the referee just grabbing that money into his pocket, where I was like, hey, do the wrestlers notice he was doing that? But I'm pretty sure I forgot who the referee even was, but I thought that was a funny little spot. Interesting. I've always had many questions on it where I was kind of like, hey, I got the time now to ask somebody else. Let's see what they think on it.
Yeah, I think overall that if you simplify it, really these are 3, let's just assume it's a singles match. There are 3 individuals out there making sure that they put on a show that entertains you. So I would say that naturally, of course, those 3 people are working as a team. And so I would assume, being positive about it, that of course there would be a portion that they may feel should go to the referee to make sure that they look good, make those 2 counts look good, count them out appropriately on the outside of the ring, blah, 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 so on and so forth. The other one I wanted to mention was you and I were at a show together, And we sat there side by side, and I watched the referee from our show sit there and check the corners, kick the corners to make sure that they were tight and up against there. And these were safety things. And I thought it was really interesting that a ref before a match was out there making sure that all those sides were kicked in and appropriately put in there so that nobody slides or, has a misstep. And it just tied into your point, and it was just one example that, without better word, that came back to your point that these referees do need to sometimes maybe get as much respect as the performers. I do see in a couple cases where there are some refs that we know their names. We cheer them on when they come out. Every now and then, if somebody maybe buys a drink or says, "Hey, I really see what you're doing. I do appreciate it. You're out there. You're one of my favorite referees," would even be a really cool thing to say to someone. But yeah, I've went out of my way one time, and you were at the show with me, where I actually said, if I get a chance to see that guy, I'm going to tell him, "Hey, you're doing one hell of a job. I see you out there checking for safety. I appreciate it."
Yes.
And no one will say it, that they won't know how valuable he is. Hopefully, you know what I mean? Hopefully he's so safe that everybody stays safe and nobody notices that he does his job.
Yeah, just like kind of like when you watch sports, like it's best you don't know the referee's name, because that means you don't have to like question it as like, who's this asshole ruining my team from winning the game or something like that. Same thing goes with refs. A lot of them are no names unless they've done something, unfortunately, usually negative, which then now everybody wants to know their name. Like, who's the ref that messed this up or messed that up, or that's ridiculous in my opinion. But the ref that you were talking about right now, and we talked about him on one of the past episodes, I couldn't remember what. I know he was recently brought up by myself, I believe, as well as you. And I think we were talking how we like this referee a lot. It is one Mr. Nuck Johnson, and he is on Twitter at The Last Man Counting, at nookanite.com, and he is the referee that we were talking about, where I think I described him as he usually has the red suspenders. He always had different color suspenders based on the promotion as he at, which is another little thing as a referee. Is like, hey, if I'm going to GCW, I shouldn't be wearing like a hot pink suspenders, as the colors for GCW usually are black and white, or like for the shows like us here in Vegas, he was at the FSW show where black and orange, where he had orange suspenders. And I've seen him do GCW shows where he's also done red suspenders too for like the blood. So that's the referee that we were talking about last time. I couldn't think of his name for the life of me. You brought him up right now, so while you were quickly talking, I had to quickly remind myself to look up his name, because I do want to give him a shout out. As you said, we thought he was an awesome referee. So Nuck Johnson out there, appreciate you. Keep up the awesome work as referee, and hopefully see you back here again soon in the West Coast. But going back to the match, it was a fun match. The one cool move, of course, every time I see Gringo Loco do it, I always kind of want to turn my head just in case, because it's always a crazy move, is that Gringo bomb that he did, and he hit a very nice one on Drilistico from the top rope. But this was a fun match, as we were talking about. The Hermanos Lee, Dragon Lee, and Drilistico end up with the win as they hit a Dragon Bomb on ASF. So that was a fun match to end, lead up into our main event of the evening. And in the main event of JCW's Great American Bash, we have Konosuke Takeshita going 1-on-1 with Cole Radrick. And just like a few of the other matches on this card, this was one where I was really looking forward to seeing what Takeshita could bring out of Cole Radrick. And this match definitely did not disappoint. It was very deserving of the main event, even though I would have gone with Speedball versus Axon Ray. That's just based on personal preference. This match definitely made my opinion wrong, and it was a good main event to pick between Takeshita and Cole Radrick. John, what are your thoughts on the main event?
I thought it was a real treat having Takeshita in JCW. I mean, just to have him go, you know what, I'm coming over there, I'm going to have a match, and then to have it up against Cole. I think that was really stretching Cole to his limits, but also really stretching his horizons. I'm really hoping he's taken away a couple things from that match. There was dueling Ratty Daddy Takeshita chants. That was happening back and forth. So it was really nice to see that. There was no real bad guy there, at least for the beginning of the match. I don't have anywhere here. Did anybody really go heel in this one?
Not that
Mystical,
I
do you remember?
not that I
Okay.
saw. It was just a constant of like they constantly showed each other respect, and then the fans were, of course, cheering both sides the entire night.
They were really appreciative that Takeshita was there. I did notice that. It was really, really hard hitting. I mean, like there was a spot where Takeshita hit Cole with a DDT on the floor, and you could hear the thump. I mean, that was pretty hard.
I loved most of their stuff that they did outside because I thought they did kind of like, I believe it was Cole that kept on trying to do the splash on Takeshita, and then Takeshita kept on moving out of the way. I could be reversing it. Like it's been 2 weeks, but I could be wrong. Like one of the two were going for a splash to the outside, and the other one always kept on moving out of the way. So like whenever it did finally hit, like that's why I think it was Cole when it finally hit Takeshita with the running body cross while he was sitting on a chair. I thought that was like a cool moment of like, hey, we're gonna get here. Just bear with this, and it kind of showed like how equal they really both were. While Takeshita is more the stronger guy, I thought Cole Radrick with his toughness and technical ability would have the advantage there, and Takeshita would use his strength and quickness, and I believe he's more experienced as well. I thought he would use the experience to beat Cole, and I like this match was just awesome to see Cole Radrick, as you said, elevate himself to new horizons, and Takeshita to still show he's still got a lot more to show these U.S. fans because he's been all over the country since his little excursion out here, and he's been doing AEW, GCW, JCW. Now we've seen him on a lot of different promotions, and each time we've seen a new piece of Takeshita come out. Where I thought this was awesome, seeing Takeshita pull out new stuff as well as Cole Radrick exploring his arsenal as well.
Yeah, I have seen so many Takeshita matches since he's been over here, and I'm not disappointed in any of them. I was really happy that this was my introduction. I get to see at least some American style of him. I know most people go, well, you might want to see his style overseas. I get that. I just wanted to see what he can do here with the people we have here. I haven't sat down yet, but I am looking forward to sitting down and seeing what else he has. You watch one match, he has 30 some moves. You watch the next match, he'll pull off 20 of those moves, and then he'll add a new set of 20. And then. And what that means overall is that every match that I've seen has had something different. It's harder to find his formula that he uses for the match. And then on the Cole side, it was another really just real strong showing. The kid's getting his ass beat. I mean, he's a kid to me. He's getting his ass beat. Cole's one there that I was thinking, has there ever been a time where Cole has come up against Alley Catch? I'm just wondering.
And see, here's the surprising thing, just because he's on such a roll right now. Like Cole's been with GCW for a couple of years. Like he's just starting to do a lot more, and he's becoming more of a GCW regular now.
Yeah.
But man, I've seen so many GCW matches, and Cole, I cannot put those two in the ring at the same time together in a singles match, at least. I think I've seen them in a scramble match go against each other, if I'm not mistaken. Like I've seen them go against, like I said, in scramble settings, but I don't think I've ever seen a one-on-one of Cole and Ali. That'd be interesting to see, like another version and style of Cole. Because as you were saying with Takeshita's always evolving, and we've seen every single match, like none of his matches has been the same throughout his whole excursion here. They've all been different. And now thinking back at it with Cole, like he has a lot of different matches lately as well. So I don't know, I'll have to go back and check on the alley catch stat for you.
Yeah, I really think it would be interesting to see what dynamic they use with those two, because to a degree I wouldn't say they're equal in size, but they're closer in size than you would see John Moxley and Ali. And I think what would be interesting would be the dynamic of how Cole may be able to play heel and maybe play a little stiff on Ellie and get a little heat there. I mean, with all the punishment, after he gets his heat, I'd love to see her just take weapons to him and just whoop the shit out of him until the fans are just going nuts and close it out. I don't know why, but for some reason, I see that happening if it hasn't already. Maybe it's up there in my memory when I was watching late night. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing Cole back out here in Las Vegas in a couple weeks. And what a great guy. What a very, very, very nice, down to earth guy.
Yeah, I think Cole in all these matches, especially as he's becoming more lovable by the fans and getting the crowd behind him, you definitely he comes off better as taking the majority of the punishment and then getting the crowd behind him to get that burst of energy to get the win or get close to the win. And I agree with you. I think when he's in that kind of role, he plays it very well. I don't really see him being like in charge of the ring, having control of most of the match and being the heel per se. But him as the lovable underdog, like, it's a perfect fit, perfect look for him. He's got the perfect move style, his charisma. He's got everything that says lovable underdog. And and we've been seeing it kind of him using that and growing his fan base in GCW and across other promotions as well. As you said, where he's going to be out here in Vegas in a couple of weeks without GCW doing a show. And this would be the second time or third time I've seen him with this promotion, and it's just like it's always fun seeing Cole, no matter where he's at and what kind of match, anything he's doing, I will go out of my way to see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna eventually, once we get a little more caught up, I'm just trying to tell everybody who does listen that I'll start announcing upcoming shows eventually. So when it comes within 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks of some GCW shows, I'm gonna make sure I mention those. And I'm also going to make sure that I mention a couple shows that may be GCW performer heavy. What I'm saying is that we are big fans of GCW, but part of what makes GCW great would be the performers that go out there and get their ass kicked for us. And so I like to also announce shows where there may be, hey, do you want to see Effie? He's over here on Thursday. Would you like to see Allie? She's over there on Wednesday. So I think I'll eventually be adding Cole's show here out in Vegas eventually when it comes closer to time, for sure. I don't have much more to say about this, man. I really did tell you, I think, everything I could tell you on this one. I did see that there was I just see the fact that Takeshita got everything he could out of Cole.
Yeah, and like I said, I think they both brought out another side of, not another side, but another style or at least moveset that we're not used to from either of them. And them kind of chasing after those moves, they didn't get it always right the first one. They always had to not like as in performer right, but always got countered, where when they finally did hit the move that they were looking for earlier in the match, it got a bigger pop and a bigger reaction from myself, at least watching it, because it was like, oh, Cole almost got it. Oh, he's going for it again. Oh, man, he can't get it. He's never going to. Oh, he got it. Like, I love having that kind of feeling and watching these matches where I don't know what to expect, and it's not like, okay, he's gonna do his lion salt that he normally does, and of course we know what's gonna happen there. Like, it's not like that with Cole. Like, you never know if it's gonna hit or when it's not. And with Takeshita, you just never know what he's gonna use as a counter, because with the Japanese style that he's been using, they got a lot of different counters to the same moves out here that we always see all the time, where they have a more creative counter to it. And I thought Takeshita, as has his whole excursion out here, has been awesome to see. As you said, it was a real treat having him at JCW/GCW. I know he's about to go back to his home promotion in DDT in Japan for a while, but I know he said, hey, hopefully I will be back, and hopefully you guys remember me and I could get the same love as I have now when I come back. And I think once he polishes his style away from the United States, and we realize, hey, we haven't seen Takeshita in a while, I think the next GCW card, you'll see him on that poster of Takeshita returns to GCW. I think you're going to see a lot of fans remember how much we loved him before he left, how much he's gotten better back home, and what the new version we're going to see of him back here in the States. I cannot wait for that moment.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of note real quick that there was the spot where, or not the spot, but series of moments where a spot would be missed and a spot would be missed, and then finally it hits. I don't know if I've really seen that out of Radrick before in any of his matches. I really do feel like that was Takeshita's doing, and I really do hope, for the sake of the emotion of it, that Cole starts to incorporate that into his own matches. I like that. I like the papa. Oh, is he finally going to hit it? Oh, is he fine? Okay, that used to be done in the 80s all the time. You would see that all the time. Oh, is he going to get his finisher in? Oh, back when a finisher was the end. Yeah. You know, is he gonna get that DDT? Is he gonna? So I really do hope that he incorporates that, because I think it just adds a dimension of that emotional aspect.
And that's the in-ring psychology that a lot of these old-time wrestlers, wrestling personalities that we were talking about were saying, like, they wish they want to see more of. Where I think Takeshita, because of his experience, he had a little bit more of a handle on that psychology, which is good for Cole, as he's been getting these bigger names, these bigger matches, and learning these little things in wrestling psychology that you won't get if you're going always against somebody younger than you or with like less experience. Where he's now stepped up his game, he's getting the bigger names, the more experienced wrestlers, and he's going to start learning that psychology and bringing that psychology with them to future matches. And that's why I kind of love seeing these two up and comers, as I want to call them, because like Takeshi I'd never heard of until this excursion. He's blown up, and Cole Radrick's been on his little tear that he's been doing with GCW, where you will see those little improvements each and every time. Where if you don't put these wrestlers up against other people that are more experienced with them, you're never going to, those younger wrestlers or less experienced wrestlers are never going to learn that psychology. So I love, awesome, like, I'm going to kind of not switch topics here, but like Brett once again bringing foreign talent into the United States, not just to work with the big names as they usually do, but also incorporating, hey, here's our younger star that we think is going to be up and coming. We kind of want to test him and see what he has with you. And like one of these matches coming up in my eyes is Jordan going against Bandito coming up here soon at the People versus JCW. Like, that's a step up for Jordan, especially with the ring psychology and the lucha style and stuff like that. Like, we've been seeing that all over GCW with Suzuki going up against, well, Joey Janela is kind of a bad example because those two are experienced, but you kind of get what I'm saying with bringing foreign talent and their styles and their ring psychology in with the younger talent to help the younger talent grow as a performer and as a wrestler.
Well, holy shit, I'll say this much. If Brett was able to have AEW money, Brett's vision with AEW's money could really put together a very interesting roster. And not only that, would have the vision to bring in talent from the outside to polish and make those talents they do have on the roster better.
Yes.
He has a hell of a good, finding Nick Wayne, holy shit. The Billy Starks brand, it was a pretty interesting situation there, and then bringing in Billy Starks and whatnot. But in the Commander, most recently, what an amazing find. Yeah. And I'm sure he's been around for quite a while, but what an amazing find that brought him to us. I'm so thankful I've never seen a man run ropes like that. I know we've talked about that.
And I never knew Commander had a technical side to him until I saw him. Probably the next show I think we're talking about is coming up, the No Signal on the Hills, where Commander goes against Tony Deppen, and like they had a crazy like minute sequence of just rolling around technical reversals and advantage holds and pins and near falls and escapes. Or like that would have been the last thing I would have thought of Commander being, because all we've really seen him before GCW was him running the ropes, him being the high flyer. And that's kind of what he started off doing in GCW, is the stuff that got him famous. But now, since the more he's with GCW, they're letting him, hey, you got a one-on-one now against Tony Deppen. Let's see what you got. And boom, Commander answers that call and has a great technical match with Tony Deppen. Like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself and ahead of the podcast here.
No.
Like that's the kind of stuff I love seeing, is where you never would have thought of a Commander or wrestlers of that ilk in foreign countries that we don't get exposed to enough, where Brett sees one thing, hey, I could do something with that. He probably does his little research and does his homework, and he could do this too. We'll eventually introduce that to our crowd base, but for right now, let's show him off in these scramble matches, give him his high flying spots, and then, all right, now's your time to shine. 1-on-1, 3 matches into your GCW career against Tony Deppen, and he's trying there too.
No shit. I was gonna say, guess what? Match 2 or 3 ever in GCW, you're up against Deppen already. That says something for sure. There are some people that come through, they don't get Deppen for a while. And they're already going, hey, Tony, this guy really, can he cut it? And I will say, with Commander, he's young, and it shows sometimes with his moves that he has a good vision for what he wants to do. And every now and then he will kind of miss, very rarely. So that, like I said, that kind of shows the youth. He has that ambition. He's trying to get everything together. Plus, he's trying to get his move set in on Tony Deppen, who may be just learning the 8 or 10 unique moves that Commander may bring to the, to the fight. I just wanted to mention that only because he's just one hell of a talent that he's really getting recognition quick.
Yeah. And like I said, my takeaway from this match was just how those two styles would mesh, especially as kind of up and coming stars. And yeah, they were given the main event spot, which, like I said, it could have been questionable with Speedball and Axton Ray, as Axton Ray's kind of new too to the whole GCW scene and JCW scene. But I thought maybe that would have been the main event just because of Speedball's name and the role he's been on lately. But as I said before, that was a great way to start the match, and Takeshita and Cole Radrick ended it off really good. Takeshita ends up hitting Cole with the knee for the victory, and I just want to see more Takeshita. Hopefully sometime he'll come back for another excursion here, or we could work something out. I believe GCW's heading to Japan here in a couple months, and maybe we could see some good Takeshita out in Japan. We'll see. But the foreign talent that Brett has brought in lately, it's been incredible. And like you said, his ability to find names that we've never really heard of and trust himself and his decision making to put that wrestler onto his product and take a shot on that wrestler, it's hit way more than I believe it's missed. And it just, Brett, like you said, if he had more money, I know he kind of loves the indie style, the indie feels. He doesn't want the big productions. He doesn't want the big arenas and stuff like that. He doesn't want the TV deals and be restricted. He wants to keep his authenticity of GCW, but I would just like to see, if he had the money to go and get any wrestler he wants, and the matches he would put together with that would be phenomenal. I mean, we're seeing it now, and as they're every night, we're not seeing the same two people fighting against each other. Every night, we're seeing first time ever matches. The first time ever seeing this person in a GCW ring. This person's making their debut. That person's making their debut. It's like dream matches, as we said, like independent wrestlers. Every night you see a dream match, and GCW, they hit it every single night. And this one, we got, in my opinion, I got two of them for Speedball and Axton, and then Takeshita and Cole in this one. Like, I just love seeing different stuff, not seeing the same matches over and over and over again.
Oh, that makes sense. So you were going to go ahead and you were looking at putting Bailey and Ray as the last match of the night. So then my question is, if you have Takeshita and Radrick, there's 8 matches on the card. Okay, number 8's already taken. Where would you put Takeshita and Cole on this card? Because here's what I would have done. I probably would have had the 7th match as my opener. That would have been the Space Gods up against Hermanos Lee. I would have probably opened the night scramble style, in this state, but it's a tag team, but it's scramble style. I probably would have opened the night with that. And then, well, I want to go back to you. What would you have? Yeah, talk to me about where you might have, because I'm 100% with you. This show had a couple really high spots where you could have probably moved 1 or 2 matches here or there, and it would have made sense too.
Personally, like, it's easy beforehand to say what I wanted to say and then have it play out. And I'll kind of talk about match placement a lot more our next episode when we watch the No Signal on the Hills, as I kind of I have a opinion on the match format that for that card specifically. I didn't hate this one. I kind of liked it. I'm just saying that when I first saw it, I was like, oh, my main event is Mike Bailey and Axton Ray, and then oh crap, we got it at the beginning. But as we were saying before, you kind of always want to start the night off hot and end it hot.
Yes.
And we've been seeing that in other promotions and doing some crazies booking with that stuff too. And then I think that would have been a hot start, would have been Gringo Loco and his squad, and then end the night then with Speedball. But then you
that'd also been some bookends.
Yeah, and then we also got to worry about, like, if there's going to be an intermission. We don't know if there's going to be an intermission. If there is, that kind of changes the match format that way as well. So, like I said, it's easy to do it beforehand and stuff. I think I would have had probably the Axton Ray, Mike Bailey at the end to finish it off. Then either Cole and Takeshita, probably somewhere, if there was an intermission, probably right after intermission to get the attention back to the show instead of before the intermission, as that would have been a good spot too before the intermission if it was like followed up by the bunkhouse stampede after the intermission. Like I said, I'm going into the weeds here. Like, I'm playing Booker. I love playing Booker, but I didn't hate it, but like I just originally thought like that was my main event was that way. But I'm not bashing on the booking because, like I said, either way, I loved it. It was good. I will have a little bit to say about match placement on like I said, the next episode on the next card, because it's easy beforehand to say. You never know how the crowd's going to react, or like, you never know. Like, hey, they call sometimes these intermissions on the go. They don't like, sometimes they have it planned out. It's like, hey, we're going to have like 3 death matches here. We want to have this one, and then we want an intermission, and then that way. Or sometimes like they'll come up and like, hey, do you want to do an intermission here? You want to keep on going? And then they have to quickly decide. So it's kind of easier to pre-book a show than it is to on the fly book the show. So I'm not like bashing Brett or bashing booking. I was just saying like my main event would have been that night. Hey, people, all these Ratty Daddy fans out there, they want their main event. They want Ratty Daddy in the main event. And I'm not hating on it. I thought this, and the match played out as a main event match, and I'm happy for it. I'm fine with it. I loved having it go on at the end. No qualms about it. It's just what I originally thought was going to be the main event was just different. But like I said, no qualms here. Other awesome show, another great main event, another showcase for Cole Radrick to showcase his talents. And Takeshita, I believe that's probably going to be the last time we see him in America for the foreseeable future until he comes back. But Takeshita, thank you for showing up at JCW/GCW.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you back here soon, coming home from DDT. And that will lead us into the memorable moments of the night. I got a couple, like I've kind of just already said real fast. Speedball, Action Ray, I was looking forward to it. It delivered. Takeshita versus Radrick, I was looking forward to it. It delivered. And seeing Dragon Lee kind of perform in a match with Gringo and ASF with Jalistico, I was kind of interested to see how that match would turn out, and it did disappoint. And Homicide, Alec Price, that was a good showcase. It was very good showcase matches where I thought it was very well booked, solid winners, losers, and stuff like that. But I thought each match there was no winners or losers. I thought every single match came out, every single wrestler came out with a positive instead of a negative, other than what happens in the win-loss column. But that's not necessarily always the end-all be-all in wrestling, as we have seen and continue to see.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's a booking thing, or I don't know if it's just a company thing. And I know I mentioned this about Nick Wayne, where it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. But there are quite a few people here that I'm just so thankful to see. I could give a damn less if they win or lose. And I know everybody has their personal favorites. I see Deppin out. I'm so happy. I love singing the song. I love watching him be a dick. You know, it's so much fun. I remember that during the beginning of the match, everybody had their hats on. They had their little party hats on. And the fans were asking Speedball. And who was Speedball, Vince? Gosh, my mind already. Axton Ray, yeah, they were asking for him to keep their hats on while they fight. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
And going back to that, you could see the fun that these two were about to have. Like, they were excited to face each other, excited to do it on the GCW, JCW platform in front of those fans. And you could tell, like, hey, they were to start off the night, like, they came out serious, but then like put the hat on. You see them both smile and look at each other, and boom, all right, let's do this. Let's have fun with it. And that was awesome to see it, have it being a serious match and a great showcase, but also them showing their love for professional wrestling and for putting on a show for us fans.
Yeah, I also wanted to note, because we didn't have a chance to really say too much here, or maybe I touched on it just a touch, but I'm going to say this about a lot of people, but I want to say especially with Speedball, I had a chance to meet him and Veda right after they got married. And you want to talk about two very kind people. They're very nice. They're very polite. And honestly, Speedball was just very humble, very kind person. Specifically, right off of that alone, on top of what he brings to every match, I'm a huge fan. It was really nice seeing Delirious after such a long time. I know I say that as such a long time, but it really was nice seeing him. It was funny seeing Veda get mad because Allie was wearing them as cones. Yeah, she was enjoying herself. The 16 chops plus one to Nick Wayne for his happy birthday. I do remember that. All the young talent on the show, holy shit, all the young talent on the show, including Alec Price, having a great showing with a lot of help from the veterans coming out there. And the last I'll mention, I'll kind of throw, oh no, there's a couple, but the last one I'll say before I throw it back to you was I'm a big fan of Haas's. That Haas fight between Josh Bishop and Big Vin, it was short, but it was impactful.
Yes, and kind of going off of that Josh Bishop, I know how you're saying you're becoming a fan of Charles Mason.
Yeah.
And like the dastardly, sadistic heel that he's doing and kind of ruining it. And now seeing Josh Bishop back that would be a kind of nice little bodyguard there as for a young Charles Mason, having Josh Bishop as kind of his enforcer to kind of protect himself. I think that would be a nice little twist there.
So who did Mason have before this? Slade, right?
Yes, he had Slade.
So it would slide right in.
To go against Mason, you have to beat Slade and Bishop. That is two people I do not want to mess with.
Well, even just Bishop, like he's taking Slade's place, even would be a nice, switch from one to the other.
Yes.
Killer Cross, we won't go that far, but boy, would he be a fun one to bring in as an enforcer anywhere.
Yes.
But, and Scarlett.
Yes.
Scarlett, quote unquote.
But I loved the show. It was a fun day of wrestling because it was the same day as the GCW settlement series earlier in the day. I thought those back-to-back shows of, hey, let's have a little comedy match while also getting our young talent some exposure. And then at the end of the night, let's finish strong with a normal GCW/JCW style show where nonstop action. The pace was awesome. The crowd was hot, and it was a more serious wrestling show. But like I always say, it's the versatility of GCW. They could put on comedy. They could put on deathmatch tournaments. They could put on crazy cars like how they just did here. They could bring all these wrestlers from all over the world and put them in dream matches that will always deliver every single night that GCW's on. They're on a hot roll right here. And then this leads up to their California getaway here, where they do one night. They did a show at the Ukrainian Culture Center for No Signal in the Hills Part 2. And then they follow that up back in San Francisco and back to the Bay. And we will be covering both of those shows here later this week. I promise. I put my stamp on it that these shows will be all caught up by Friday. Well, I didn't know it was Friday night. I thought I read it was Saturday night. So we got one less night, but we got this. We're going to keep on.
Oh, hell yeah, we got this, bro.
We're like GCW. We're going to keep on going and going and fucking going. So, any last thoughts on this match before we kick it off, before we head out and give a quick preview of the next shows, which I kind of just did already?
No, that's okay. What I did want to say, which was kind of another thought to think about, GCW lately has been doing an excellent job on blurring the fine line between GCW and JCW and LA fights. They've really been incorporating LA fights and JCW talent a lot more into their shows. And I really do like that, because I think if you can bring them in, give them a little love, send them back. I'm more apt now to watch a JCW show than I was even 6 months ago, because some of the people that were on that GCW show are over there. And I really do have to say that they've done a hell of a job incorporating all three of those companies and making them mesh together to where I'm now interested in all three instead of just one.
Yes, and I like how I might call it a minor league team, even though I hate saying that. I might accidentally slip, but I call it like their sister team, but it's not like saying it's, one's better than the other. You guys can make your own assumptions on that. But I love how LA Fights could run a card without any GCW sitting there promotion. Like, you don't have to have GCW there that week to have a LA Fight show. They've been their first couple shows. They had their own cards with no GCW involvement whatsoever, other than maybe production and stuff like that. And I loved those LA Fight shows because being out here in Vegas as we are, I've seen a lot of those talents locally in person. a lot more than I have the JCW crew, but I know where, hey, if there's an LA Fight event going on, I might want to go check it out because I know some of these localized independent wrestlers on the West Coast. And same thing, JCW fans are like, hey, we've had JCW shows without any GCW too, and we know our wrestlers are wrestling at H2O and other stuff. So I like seeing how they could LA Fights and JCW could stand alone on their own without the help of GCW. But when GCW is in town, we're going to find a way to, and as we saw this coming up weekend that we're going to cover, we saw a lot of LA Fight roster members representing LA Fights in a GCW ring. And same thing, we had GCW kind of throw in some of their wrestlers and stars in the LA Fight setting. So I like how you said, like, the fluidity of all three companies. They don't need each other. They could be well on their own, but when all three get together, as we saw at the Collective, like LA Fights versus JCW is one entertaining show, and those all three companies are working together, obviously, since they're all part of each other in some way or another. I also just like how you said, agree with you and love seeing how all three can make everything better.
Yeah, I'd love to see maybe a brother-sister fight at sometimes. I don't have another way to put, maybe parent company and brother and sister company. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're whooping ass in one of those two companies, you're going to see more time over at the parent company. I think that's fair.
And I think that might be not a weekly thing, a yearly thing that they might start doing at the Collective, since we kind of seen it all this last Collective, we saw it. The Collective was in Dallas, I believe, somewhere in Texas. Yeah, Dallas, Texas, I think, or Houston. So it's kind of like right in the middle for LA Fights and Jersey Championship Wrestling to meet in the middle on more not unified, but neutral turf. Whereas next year, I believe the Collective will be in LA at the Ukrainian Cultural Center. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if JCW and some of their rosters and normals come out here and try to cause some stuff. But I think I could see it being a cool yearly. That's kind of like if you call back to old Survivor Series where we got one brand or one team going against the other. Like, it'd be kind of cool seeing the brands go against each other. At the Collective, as well as we've been seeing it more just in GCW settings as well. It's like another platform for them to show off their talents and all the young talent, as we continue to say every single show, that they have on their rosters.
I would love to see brother and sister fight with each other to a point to where the roster on one side hates the roster on the other. And I mean, let's keep it going for 6 months or a year. And it gets to a point where maybe GCW will put on a show and there'll be a couple JCW people there, and maybe they run their mouth to LA Fights people, and maybe there's a little scrum, off to the sides. I think there could be I think there could be something there that may even stir more interest, and having each company as possibly a large faction. Just for storyline purposes, it would be so interesting to see a storyline. It'd be so nice to see a storyline.
Like Invasion, kind of like in a little Invasion angle that, hey, we're on your territory, but we're declaring it ours. Or, hey, you're on our territory, we got to defend it. Or, hey, we're in GCW, they're giving us a platform to, I'm representing my company, you're representing yours. Let's see which company's the best. Like, I love seeing just all three, like I said, work together, and that's what we're seeing in independent wrestling now anyway, is everyone's working together. And as in my opinion, wrestling's in a great place right now, with everyone working together and everyone looking to improve not only themselves and their standing, but other companies as well.
And I'm not Mr. Historian. I've watched wrestling for a long time. I can't say it's the best ever, but I can say right now, independent wrestling is the place to be. They have the strongest performers that you can ask for. They have the most variety. Deathmatch, you go here. If you like lucha, you go here. If you don't like that much deathmatch, watch here. If you want more, go here. If you like more drama, go here. I mean, you really can pick and choose what you like, and it's out there. And not only that, but it's not out there for real expensive either.
Yeah.
I mean, just I don't plug things like, but as a fan, I've gotten IWTV because I can watch a wrestling match almost any night, and quite a few GCW performers show up over there, so I try to be supportive. Also, I'll have Fight TV because that's obviously the way to get GCW, but also that's the way I'll get VXS. that's the way I'll get. Wow, it's just late. Otherwise, I'd give you 3 or 4 other companies.
A bazillion companies out there. Like I said, there's about 10 right now where if I know they got a card, I'm put it on my list and I'm watching it as close to live as possible.
Yeah, I'm trying to do everything I can to just make sure that everybody is supportive of possible as these guys, because overall they're still artists and performers. And there's, without going deep into it, but just touching upon the subject, I've noticed still there is a lot of self-doubt sometimes, and you see a lot of depression amongst these performers. And I think the most important thing we can do is at least tell them that we appreciate what they pour themselves into.
Yeah, and showing appreciation doesn't cost you anything. Anybody could show appreciation.
Yes.
It's up to you if you choose to or not. Yeah, it was a fun show. Great GCW, JCW weekend. Like I said before, our next episode, we will be covering No Signal in the Hills. And then the following episode after that, we will be covering Back to the Bay. And then we will be right up to schedule with the GCW versus the People in Nashville. We might get a little crazy here. I know I'm popping this up on you, but we might get a little crazy here and quickly cover the LA Fights show that happened at that weekend, since we were just discussing it. Could be a quick one.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe for those listeners out here. Here's another little plug. Maybe for those listeners still listening, hit us up on Twitter at Mystical Jericho, or like for myself, it's the GCW Plant Podcast. Might be a little easier for you to type. My name should pop up there, Mystical Jericho. We have John J. Wolf. You could catch him on his Twitter at John J. Wolf. And maybe one of these nights we could maybe quickly cover with the fans and talk about the LA Fights and do a little Twitter space. Just a little something might not necessarily have to be a podcast in form, but as a little Easter egg and a thank you to those fans that have listened to us, have downloaded us, and have keep on coming back to us as a way to say thank you. Maybe, like I said, that would be our night to just do a quick little Twitter space and talk about LA Fights before the GCW versus the People or something like that. We'll see. We'll try to get LA Fights in there. We showed JCW some love tonight. We'll have to give LA Fights their love, maybe on a little different platform.
Well, the other thing I was going to mention, because you were talking about maybe talking about other things here. I think at some point we do want to tell everybody that it would be cool if we can get into Twitter space and kind of do some things there. Because number one, we are fans, and let's be honest, there are nights, what the hell else are we doing? Either watching wrestling, looking up wrestling on the internet, or talking about wrestling. So I do want everybody to know that is paying attention, that if they have time at some point here, we are going to open that up so that people can jump in, say hi. A lot of us have wrestlers and performers all over our Twitter pages. You can see that on both of our profiles. There's a good chance we're going to try to get some of them to jump in when they're available. But I just wanted everyone to know that, again, first and foremost, we're fans. We're doing this because we love it. That's what we're here for. We don't want everyone else to discover it and love it too. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this was just something to kind of look forward to. We're talking about it. Once we're good enough to not take small breaks between matches, we'll be able to kind of make it a lot more smoother. And so I just wanted to kind of pass that on, really. It's kind of saying unannounced, but just kind of a nice thing to say for someone to look forward to is that we're just beginning. We're doing our best, but honestly, we're going to be doing a lot more really soon. So whoever wants to be involved and say something, please do. We'd love to include anyone who just want to talk just like we do.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up the Twitter space possibly for LA Fights, because then it'll be kind of like, hey, if you listen, you're going to be the only ones, or you follow us on Twitter, you'll be the only ones in there. So it won't be like you're in a room full of bunch of people you don't know, or you're with other GCW fans. So, and whenever I see GCW Twitter space or one of the GCW personalities that I follow all the time, if I see them in a Twitter space, I usually stop what I'm doing, hop in, because I love hearing not just the wrestling knowledge that they drop and the behind the scenes stuff, which is a lot, but I love hearing them talk about, hey, what's their favorite meal at Taco Bell, or hey, what's Hawaii like? Because I bring up that because GCW started a Twitter space within this last week, and I was so excited. I got no notification on it I was so excited. I hopped in. I was there for 2 minutes and it ended. And I guess they did a whole thing on Hawaii or everything. So I just bring that up as, like I said, another outlet, another forum for us to discuss wrestling, GCW wrestling, especially with you guys. And I believe that is another way until we get more video, more YouTube, a live chat going as we record live, and for you to give us your opinions and thought live. This will be another way to hit us up on Twitter. We'll talk about the show. If fans hop in, we'll give the fans a little voice and they can express their what they saw from the LA fights or whatever GCW stuff. So we're going to be doing a lot more stuff out there to get the fans more involved, because as I said, since episode 1, I am a fan and I started this podcast to talk with other GCW wrestling fans, as in yourself, John Jay. And luckily, luckily we found out we had a lot of similarities and likes on the wrestling stuff. So I just like talking GCW wrestling. And as you said, we want to help spread the word out, because I believe, and I'm not mad, but like, I kind of wish somebody was out there years ago. I just started watching GCW within the last almost a little over a year, but ever since my first GCW show that nobody really told me about, I just kind of found it on myself one night on YouTube when they did the Fight Forever. I was like, oh, that's cool, I want to check them out. Oh, the pandemic's still going on, but we got a live wrestling show. Went to the GCW first time, went to the show, fell in love, and it's been my favorite wrestling since. And I want to give that experience to other fans that, like I said, I wasn't able to know about GCW 3 years ago when they just started, and I wish I did, but I loved it so much. I've gone back and rewatched all the shows many times, done my research on it, and I'm all cut up now. And I would just want to give other people a chance to enjoy the greatness of GCW wrestling as I found it. So that's kind of why we started this podcast, and kind of our goals moving on here in the future is getting the YouTube live chat going, getting the live video, no pausing during the recordings, just boom, boom, get it all out there. Do some Twitter spaces with the fans during the week when there's nothing going on, or right before a show, do a little pre-analysis, right after the show, post-analysis.
Right after a show, yeah. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, so we got all those things in like I said, in the works. Where, as you can kind of hopefully see, we've improved and gotten better on the podcast, at least. Like I said, I know my goal is to at least improve every show. I believe whether it be the littlest of things we've improved, or on bigger things, like I think we've improved as well. So hang out with us, follow us on social media, keep spreading the word, or GCW, keep spreading the word of the GCW Platinum Podcast. I have seen a few people out there on Twitter as well that's like they had no idea that there was not our GCW podcast, but there was a GCW podcast out there. So for us to be one of the few that I know of, and to kind of help get other fans involved, I just kind of keep on getting that outreach out there and getting more people that are unaware of a GCW podcast out there, let alone our own GCW podcast out there. Please help spread the word, as there's many fans out there looking for the same content you are. That's how I was. I was bored one day. Hey, I want to listen to GCW podcast. There's a fun show coming up. I want to go find out more about it. Couldn't find anything other than the GCW Patreon. And so I reached out. KG was like, hey, there's not that many out there. Why don't you start your own? I'm like, let's do it. That sounds right. So that's what we're doing here. And we just kind of want to keep that going. It's for the fans. We're not on Brett's payroll. We're not on GCW payroll. We're just out here doing our own thing, right?
I wish. I had to save money to get a freaking camera. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it literally is legit just us kind of doing our thing. Since we're sitting here and talking and we're damn near, I have to. Okay. So basically this is a funny story, but primarily you were on Twitter one night and you're like, look, I'm trying to find somebody who would love to do a podcast and talk about GCW. I mean, primarily that was it.
Yep.
And then from there, I got a hold of you, and it could have been anywhere. I could have been in France. I could have been in Wyoming. I could have been halfway around the world. So I told Mystical, I said, hey, well, we're going to go to this show here and and then we found out that we're in the same city. Then we found out we're a little over 2 miles living from each other, which was another one. We found out him and my wife darn near have the same background. And the whole thing has been completely just surreal. And that all primarily started because of GCW. So you have two people here are your typical fans. You know, we're kind of introverted. We're not going out to clubs. We're sitting on our asses at home. We're watching wrestling. You know, we don't really do a lot of going out and talking and all that BS. But then when wrestling comes on, or when it's time to watch some wrestling or talk about wrestling, all of a sudden we can't get our mouths to stop running.
Yep, and we could be talking to complete strangers that we would have never talked to at any other show. But at GCW show, everybody's like family there. You like, we got to protect each other because, hey, I don't want the person next to me get hit by a flying wrestler or flying light tube at us. So like, we're all family there. We're all there for the same interests and love. And yeah, like you said, that's how I started off, was just, hey, let's find some other people like me and hang out and talk. And I think there's more out there. We are getting them out here and getting them well known on the GCW wrestling world, and hopefully our podcast is one that will be spreading love in a positive manner, and hopefully we are giving GCW, if they ever listen, or any wrestlers out there listen, or any fans out there listen, hopefully you see how much like we actually care about GCW. We're not being paid shills and being paid by them and like having to agree with everything they said. We've had little disagreements here or there, but nothing major. Yes. It's okay to disagree. You don't have to agree on everything. And I know there's fans out there just like us. So please let your voices be heard like how ours are right now. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up whenever we do these Twitter spaces or when we go live on YouTube. Leave comments on the YouTube videos. I know I got to play. That's my fault. I got to play catch up on that. We're working on that. But once we get live and our graphics and everything all set up, we will be good to go. And we'll be putting out hopefully better content and improving it nonstop and keep on spreading that GCW love out there to all the other fans, just like us.
Yeah, I don't actually mind. I don't think, maybe I'll pass it through at some point, but I don't mind if someone has a question, we can mention it on the air with their name. I don't see a big deal in saying hi to that person and, and if they don't want to mention their name, they can. But honestly, one of the things I really try to work on my side of things, especially because we each have our own thing, but to tell kind of the people who listen, is that I try to find ideas, or I try to find things to talk about that may be thought-provoking. And I really do enjoy when someone can come up with an idea, or they can see things differently than we can. So if someone could give their opinion, or maybe give some type of an opinion that would be different than what others have, we'd love to discuss it, because I'm kind of chaotic in the head, where you can give me one thing and I'll find 30 ways to use it. You can also give me one thing to worry about and I'll find 30 ways to worry about it. So if someone could please feel free to pass along something, I would love to talk about it, because that's pretty much all we're doing. We love talking about this stuff.
Yes. So to wrap it all up here, like I said, great show. I know 40 minutes later, we're wrapping it up. But no,
that's cool, man.
That's us. That's what we do. We talk wrestling, and here we are. So great show. Like I said, we got two California shows we got to cover before Friday's GCW's GCW versus People in Nashville, which I think has that card is nuts, and we will talk about that card and preview it here in a little bit right before, but that card is nuts. I think we have hopefully a lot of good things to talk about on the horizon, and we will play catch up. We will improve. So like John said, please reach out to us at Mystical Jericho or the GCW Plant Podcast, as well as John J. Wolf on Twitter, and we will get those questions answered on podcasts, either anonymously, or if you don't care with your name, you want to leave it, keep it anonymous, just let us know. We'll try to keep it as anonymous as possible. But for myself, it was a fun JCW.
It was, though, dude. American, it was a GCW show. Dude, that was a totally GCW. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I almost screwed it up like 100 times. The reason why we covered this, too, was it was pretty much the GCW show they wanted to give us earlier that day.
Yes, for sure.
Let's not BS,
Well, another one in the books, episode number 9. We are finishing up here. For myself, on behalf of John J. Wolf, we will catch you guys next time, and thank you all for all the support, and we will see you next time on the GCW Plant Podcast.
Long live GCW.